Welcome to Elmhurst, our community. We're coming to you from the Community Bank of Elmhurst in the Business Zone. I'm Ken Bartels, your host. And to start off our 2022 programming, we have two special guests from Elmhurst University. Dr. Troy VanAken, the president of Elmhurst University, and Desiree Chen, the senior director for communications and external relations. Long title. But welcome, and we're very pleased to have you on the EOC. I want to talk about the 150th anniversary, and we'll talk about a few other things along the way as well. But before we do that, I wanted to revisit one last time for our audience the name change. I still get questions out in the community, why'd they do that? And I think I know the answer, but I know you know the answer. Troy, I'll throw that to you first.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having us here. We're always excited to talk about Elmhurst University now. Really, in the United States or domestically, the word college and university can often be interchangeable. But the word university oftentimes has an association of a little more complexity, a little bit more breadth. And Elmhurst College had begun to offer master's degrees. We're now offering doctoral degrees. We have over 70 undergraduate programs, and so we have that breadth. And so we believe the name university better fits who we've become. Now, more regionally, you have community colleges or two-year degree granting institutions who have dropped the word community from their institution. So you have College of DuPage, Triton College, other two-year granting institutions. And it created some confusion. We had prospective students coming and thinking, well, we were only offering associate's degrees. And of course, we're offering master's and graduate degrees. So that sort of gave us some impetus for changing our name. And then when you look internationally, and we've significantly grown our international population, the word college in South America oftentimes means high school. Or in Thailand, for example, it might mean private grade school even. And in some countries, the word college means trade school. And so as we're looking to be a more global institution, it just made sense for all of these things, for all of these reasons, for us to sort of change our name to Elmhurst University to better reflect the institution we've become and to remove some of the confusion.
I think the confusion is long gone, and I think the university name has been greatly accepted. And I have to say, just as a private citizen, the transition, the almost seamless, it was like one day everything said college and the next day everything said university, that had to be monumental. Just, signage, stationery, logos, I mean, it was unbelievable. Great effort.
Yeah. Well, Desiree Chen and Jonathan Shearer, the two of the leaders in our marketing and communications department, did a really good job in that regard. And the real trick is that there were certain things that weren't changing: our small nature, our intimate connections, our personal attention. And so it was a little tricky to make sure that people didn't misunderstand it, that somehow we were going to become this impersonal big university, and the marketing communications team did a great job in that regard. So we were fortunate to have their leadership.
Yeah, kudos. It went off extremely well from my perspective.
Great to
say
that.
Meanwhile, you have a 150th anniversary, and I'm interested in both of your highlight reels, a snippet, a few things that happened that are always going to be with both of you as you go forward in your careers?
Well, I think for me, we're continuing to celebrate the sesquicentennial, and what I love about the approach we've taken is that we've taken events and traditions, that we've always had and elevated a number of them. So the best example of that would be homecoming. For the first time in our institution's history, we had fireworks on the night of our pep rally. Even the pep rally and the bonfire are relatively recent elevations too of our tradition. But the fireworks, I think, were really popular and very well attended. And in addition to that, there's a souped up tailgating area, and music concerts, and then homecoming ended with a vintage baseball game, as you well know, between the university and the city. And I guess that I'm especially fond, have especially fond memories of that because we won. I'm sure Troy's are even
Well,
better
and
since he was
Troy
the captain.
a highlight reel by himself in that game.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, of course, we have the big new event for the sesquicentennial was the Founders Day celebration back on December 6th, which was the day, 150 years to the day when the university was founded as a German pro-seminary. And that, I love the creativity that went into planning for that event. We had sled dog demonstrations and horse-drawn trolleys and lots of great food. And I think what was especially nice was that we had a reception for Elmhurst employees and students and faculty and staff and community members, and then and alumni, and also a holiday student dinner that I think the students really enjoyed. So, and then considering where we've been in the last year, being able to celebrate both homecoming and Founders Day, and actually the kickoff of the celebration too was commencement, to be able to celebrate all of those things in person made it really special too.
Troy?
Well, I mean, I love all of those things as well. The creativity, the fireworks. We had, our own signature beer, 1871 brew that we did in conjunction with Elmhurst Brewing Company, a great partner of the institution. But I will tell you, the thing that I am most excited about, and it's ongoing, is that on December 6th, we announced the largest comprehensive fundraising campaign in the history of the institution. And raising endowments, growing endowments really provide for the long-term strength of the institution. It benefits the atmosphere for the current generation of students, but it benefits generations that, hopefully in 150 years from now, they'll benefit from some of the work there. And so I'm really proud of the fact that alums and friends and staff members have all come together to make this a priority, because I think it's going to really be an immediate impact and it's going to be a long-term impact.
Yeah. After the break, I've got a couple specific questions about that campaign. But first, I'm interested, and I know the audience would be interested in just some current numbers, some current statistics, size of the university, majors, graduate programs, things that are second nature to you, but not second nature to everybody in town.
Yeah.
Those, I think, since I wrote them down.
Just
wanted to make sure that we had the current numbers for you.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, so our overall enrollment right now is about 3,400 students, and this academic year, in fact, we welcomed our second largest class of new students ever, about 1,217 full-time students, including our largest class of graduate students at 293. And for the graduate programs, this marks the third record year of enrollment. So enrollment and popularity of our grad programs just keeps growing, and so we're really excited about that. We have about 85 to 90 part-time and non-degree seeking students, and almost half of our first-year students identify as first-generation college students. Very proud of that fact too, that we continue to reach first-generation students and give them this kind of experience. We have 70 plus majors and 15 graduate programs, including, as Troy mentioned, our first doctoral program, a Doctor of Nursing practice. We have 162 full-time faculty, and 85% of them have their terminal degrees. And there was some interest in how many students actually come to Elmhurst University from the city of Elmhurst, and we've noticed growth in that area as well. Over the past 5 years, we've enrolled about 125 students from Elmhurst proper, and that's 125 undergraduate students, and more than 60 graduate students. And those numbers grow too, are continuing to grow too, a little slower, but still. That's pretty exciting as well.
I'm not hearing so much as reading that we're in another one of these traditional student population dips. So the graduate programs obviously take on even more significance if you're sort of borrowing one from another. Is this a pronounced dip in high school age students?
Yeah, in the upper Midwest here, we're seeing a 10 percentage point decline in the numbers of high school graduating seniors. And unfortunately, a number of our peer institutions are really struggling with that because their enrollment is declining. We're fortunate at Elmhurst that we've been seeing growth in enrollment. We've had 4 of the largest incoming classes in the history of the institution over the last 5 years, and some of that has to do with the fact that we have been trying to be responsive to the market. We've added new programs like digital media to bring programs like this to people. We've also really focused on our graduate education, so we've grown some graduate programs that are responsive to health fields and other areas. And then, as I said a little bit before earlier, we've tried to be attentive to international recruitment, and we feel that none of these are magic bullets, but they're magic BBs that combined together have allowed us to grow when most institutions have been seeing a decline in their overall student population.
I'm seeing too that, and this brings me great personal joy, but I'm seeing the university so incredibly accepted by the home community. The 3 of us in different venues over the years have talked about how that's not the case for every college in every community. And to see that nurturing and that growth in the relationship between an institution and its home community, that's something that doesn't happen accidentally.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's a priority. I mean, I guess I learned early in my career that the community that you're located in, that's the environment that your students are trying to prepare for the world that awaits them after graduation. And although we work hard to try to provide entertainment venues, whether they be culturally or athletically, we try to really be attentive to partnerships with the chamber, the park district, the local school districts, and have good relationships with the city. It's really driven by the fact that these individuals really are providing the environment for our students. And as a first-generation college student, I'm really proud of the fact that when I'm meeting with a prospective student, I can talk about their relationship with the community of Elmhurst and even beyond that, and how it really provides an ideal environment. I often say that Elmhurst, has an unmatched situation. We have this safe, nurturing community that's very accepting of the university. We try to reciprocate that. We have a train station right across from campus where we have access to a world-class city. We're broad enough for students to be able to have a lot of options, yet we're intimate enough that they get that type of personal attention. And it's very rare to find all of those things working together at a single institution. I think there's something there that's a key to our recent success.
And I think just before we go to break, I have to add that the community itself is thriving as well. Mm-hmm. The city of Elmhurst is clearly on an incredible upward trajectory, and it didn't start that low to begin with. But the influx of population, we had population growth, the influx of economic development, the relationships between all the major institutions in town, the fact that we've got world-class education, world-class healthcare, world-class schools. I mean, it's one of these perfect storm arrangements. Mm-hmm. We're going to come back after break. We're going to talk about that fundraising campaign that the president spoke of just a little bit ago, and we're going to talk about the future maybe a little bit more than we have. When we come back, this is Elmhurst, our community. The Community Bank of Elmhurst Business Zone has modern co-working space and a conference room free for customers. Visit the zone today at communityelmhurst.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Welcome back. This is Elmhurst, our community. I'm Ken Bartels, your host. I'm with Dr. Troy VanAken and Desiree Chen from Elmhurst University. Troy, you mentioned in the first half of the program the largest fundraising campaign in the history of the university. What's the number attached to that statement, and how are things as we find ourselves together?
Yeah, well, so our goal is to raise $50 million, and as a fundraiser yourself, you always want to exceed that goal. And so we're pleased that we're at $44 million today with, 16, 17 months to go in, the time frame set aside for the campaign. And there's really just 4 main focuses as we, try to wrap up this campaign. One, we want to add about a 22,000 square foot addition onto Memorial Hall to serve our allied health-related fields, whether it be nursing, occupational therapy, or other things. It's really responsive to some contemporary needs in society, and it's one of our highest priorities right now. But we also would like to add to some of the renovations and enhancements to our athletic facilities, something that we started a few years ago. We want to continue to do that. Of course, growing the endowment. That's the best way to strengthen the institution in the longest time horizon. And then lastly, we want to take care of the current generation of students. So we have an ambitious goal to raise $6 million for the annual fund, which goes to current operations. And so we're pleased with where we're at, but I think, fundraising, you're never satisfied. And so we want to just continue to push it as far as we can over the time allotted.
Memorial Hall, are you going up? Are you going east? Are you going up and east?
Yep. Well, that'll be decided, a little more formally in the coming months. But
sure.
We're hoping at our March board meeting we're going to go ahead with even some further refinements with some architects. But we've done enough work that I think the plan would be to go a little bit north and a little bit west. And part of that is that this last summer we spent $10 million to replace all the HVAC systems on campus. And there's a cooling tower, if you go right to the west of Memorial Hall, that's going away. And so that creates some additional land and the like. So I think that's our vision, is to see some things in that regard.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds exciting. And the endowment, with the until recently market growth and what have you, the endowments have been performing well, and that's so vital. That's so vital for the future. Desiree, you've got the external relations in your title, and I know that's translated into a lot of different things for you over your time at the university. But I know most recently you were head of the chamber. And I was trying to find out whether anyone from the university had ever been head of the chamber, and I don't think so.
What was the answer? Well, what do you know?
And so you were a first in a lot of different ways. But what was that external relations experience like for you?
Well, as you know, I'm a longtime resident of Elmhurst, and so. Over the years, my family and I have been able to engage in just about, we've been able to patronize the local restaurants. My kids came up through the local schools. We've used the hospital and the library and the park district. But it wasn't until I became a member of the chamber, and then, last year, got to be the chair of the board of directors, that I really gained an appreciation for the role of the chamber, and actually just the commitment among our local business community to growing and to serving residents here. And so when I joined the chamber and became more familiar with what the chamber does and how it serves and promotes local businesses, and not only our members, but during the pandemic, its role in supporting not only chamber members but non-members and the city itself, it really makes you appreciate how strong this community is, and how an organization like the chamber plays a role in that.
Well, and I think I know the Chamber Gala is coming up on March 25th. It's going to be at the university. I know it's announced that the university will be honored as the Business of the Year. University and business, some people wouldn't put those two together, but it's a genuine appreciation for the role that the university plays in the life of the community and the business life of the community. And Troy, you've got business background, and that it strikes me as a good new way of thinking about things.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, in some ways, sadly, in other ways, it's just reality. We're a $100 million a year business. And so, we bring things to the community, whether that be just economic impact or other entertainment venues, and our students and their families, eat in restaurants downtown and shop in stores and what have you. But the chamber recognizes us in particular this year. during our sesquicentennial. It's a real honor. It feels really good. And I think it also symbolizes the synergies that do exist in this community, that they're aware that we do have an impact and they're willing to recognize. It's just a real honor. We're very much appreciative of their recognizing during this unique time.
Right, and one of your predecessors, Dr. Brian Curitin and his wife Jeanette, are going to be inducted into the Civic Hall of Fame. President Frick was inducted into the Civic Hall of Fame. I think he was the second or third inductee way back when, and so that'll be a further honor for the university. I know when I reached out to Bryant and Jeanette after it was announced, they were very touched by the fact that, I mean, they've been gone a while, that they would still be recalled as someone or someone's quote unquote worthy of being in the Civic Hall of Fame. So that'll be another great part of the evening.
Yeah, and one thing I learned early on is that you kind of, as a leader, you stand on the shoulders of those who came before you. And Bryant and Jeanette made such a tremendous impact, and they're revered still to this day on campus for the people that had overlap. And just feel real fortunate that the foundation that they laid is really continuing to serve us well. And just really pleased that they're able to receive this. Bryant called me. I think he was concerned that, well, am I going to be stepping on any toes? I said, of course not. I mean, it's an honor to be associated with somebody like yourself, and it's great that the community is recognizing the contributions that you made over, more than a decade of leadership and service to this. And Jeanette as well, because, I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be here if Annette wasn't beside me in a lot of these things, and I'm sure that the same thing applies to the Curitins, that Jeanette and Bryant together were a powerful combination to move the institution and the community forward.
So we've talked about numbers a little bit, and we've talked about the fundraising campaign. Strategic goals. I know presidents and senior staff members, you work in the present, but you also have to live partially into the future. Aspirationally, what's there on the horizon?
Yeah, so we had a strategic plan. It was Elmhurst 2021, and it was to run through the current academic year, which ends in July. Of course, that was impacted by a pandemic, and so some of the goals in that strategic plan will continue to serve us throughout the next 18 months or so, but we envision refreshing our strategic plan starting this next fall. And I think some of the goals will be very similar. We want to continue to strengthen the financial base, whether that be growing the endowment or strengthening the current operating program, which is in a good spot. But we also want to take advantage of this time where we are in a relatively strong financial position. Our enrollment's been growing. We have all these synergies that we've talked about previously. We want to take advantage of that to continue to push the institution to a higher plateau, so that once again, heaven forbid there's some economic storms or other things to come along, that we've got enough strength to be able to push through those, unlike some institutions that seem to get thrown around by some of those waves.
It will seem like a similar question, and in some regards, you've probably already answered it. But if there was one thing that you could enhance about the university tomorrow morning, without having to change anything else, well, what would it be?
Yeah, the Memorial Hall addition is the top priority, not just for me. It is a personal top priority for me, but it's a top priority, for our Board of Trustees and the other leaders, that we know that being able to better serve those particular programs, it's going to strengthen the institution, but as importantly, it's going to meet one of the biggest demands that we have externally in society and even in the region. And so that's our top priority, and I think over the next 15 months or so, that's where you're going to see something that myself and others are really going to be trying to hustle to raise as much money as we can, and then also to design and build a building that will serve many generations of allied health students.
That's such an interesting testament anyway, because the historical the controversy over going into nursing, going into business, going into speech, as not worthy curriculums of a college or university. The fact that that's just completely changed, not only for Elmhurst, but so many other places as well. So what would Karl Krantz say today about Elmhurst University?
Yeah, I don't know if he could even, envision. You get off a train with 14 young men, you're training them to be teachers and preachers, which we still do, of course, but we prepare data scientists, health professionals. We have a robust business program and all kinds of other majors that are liberal arts based or career based. And so I don't know if one could envision, even if you think about the community of Elmhurst, I think it was a lot of cornfields and other things. If I could go back and whisper in his ear, it would be, secure as much land as you can, because although our 50 acres, serves us well right now, I mean, this is really a booming area, and having another 50 acres would really be a blessing at this particular point in time. But it would be interesting if you could go back, but I'm not sure you could really envision from that particular point in time, what this institution has become. Just like I may not be able to envision, 150 years from now, where it may be then.
At the same time, I think he might have been pleased to know that the central mission of educating and preparing students to contribute to society is the same and has not changed over 150 years.
Absolutely. And I think the whole story, that whole story, along with the influence of Thomas Bryan and his wife and the incredible job that the History Museum did in helping you celebrate. So thank you both for being here. Very much appreciate it. It's a great way to kick off 2022. This has been Elmhurst, Our Community. We've been talking about Elmhurst University. I'm Ken Bartels. Please share this with your friends and neighbors. This is Elmhurst, Our Community, and we'll see you again. The Community Bank of Elmhurst Business Zone has modern co-working space and a conference room free for customers. Visit the zone today at communityelmhurst.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.